Dzhokhar Dudaev was a Soviet general and the first president of the Chechen Republic. The Chechen Republic of Ichkeria seceded from the RSFSR and declared independence in July 1991. After the collapse of the USSR, the Russian Federation declared itself as a democratic state. But in fact, Russia has not abandoned its imperial ambitions. President Yeltsin sent General Gorbachev to promise Dudaev a peaceful solution to the issue of Ichkeria's independence. But this was a typical Russian betrayal. The Kremlin has devised an insidious plan for a military attack on the young republic. With Gorbachev we talked about the situation. Talk over. With conviction on both sides, that there is no military solution to this situation does not require, that all issues are political and military intervention is not necessary here. Gorbachev assured that he would convince, that he was convinced himself. After our meeting, thanked me for coming, for the meeting. Not a single unclear question remained between us. That he would convince Yeltsin that this issue could only be resolved by political means, not by force. No power solution, nothing is required here. Then he said the same to journalists. But I felt internally that the political leadership that plans such a cynical program and acts on it, they will not allow Gorbachev to deceive his intentions. Resolve this issue without armed conflict at political level. And to the crowd of thousands who were standing in the street, I said tensely, we agreed that everything will be resolved peacefully, knowing and feeling that they would not decide peacefully there after all. I am convinced that Gorbachev, as a general and an officer, not so spoiled, and not as soiled as political adventurers have soiled him. I am also convinced that he convinced Yeltsin that no military solution is required here, and it is possible to solve all the issues with Dudaev, with full interest and understanding at the political level, and with the government of the Chechen Republic. I know that he met one-on-one with Yeltsin, tried to convince him.
But political adventurers went to convince Yeltsin on the other hand. Igorov, Stepashin, the main ideologists, Sharon, Aaron, Soskovitz, Lobov, the so-called Danger Council. Of course, there are more of them, and they convinced Yeltsin of something else. Yeltsin repeatedly declares to the whole world, I, as the Supreme Commander-in-Chief, gave the order, stop bombing and so on. And it was after his order, long-distance aviation begins with the most powerful conventional means of destruction, starts carpet bombing, to demolish residential blocks and all living things throughout the territory. One second time, Chernomyrdin decides to negotiate with our delegation, negotiates the conditions for starting negotiations. But the military refuses to go to carry out his orders. Perhaps our generation remembers how the myth of the Sicilian Mafia was invented, and everything was attributed to the Sicilian Mafia. All evil. This myth has become a nuisance.
It was quickly abandoned in the West. To us, to the Soviet man, it has not yet taken root, because we were isolated from the world. Immediately concocted Jewish Zionism. And it was on this myth that all the evil against humanity was done, and the whipping boys were always, "Beat the Jews. It's all the fault of the Jews." Jewish Zionism, everything fell on it. From him, too, appeared on edge. Of course, there were those who wanted to continue it, but the Jews got stronger. It was already dangerous to make fun of them. A lot of capital in hand, mass media. The centuries-old mechanism of extermination of the people has developed their stoic immunity, which always gave them the opportunity to stand up. Now there is a need to invent a new myth, because Jews hit very hard. And they can hit, and they have something in their hands that they can hit with. There was a need to invent the Chechen Mafia. A new myth has been concocted to replace Jewish Zionism. Since the beginning of Perestroika, since 1986, propaganda has already begun. In 1987, the first mass media publications appeared. The Chechen Mafia, the Chechen racket, these are the troubles of all Soviet people and the whole world. And the newspaper Glasnost since 1989 has openly published its party program. That further this Chechen Mafia will be the main criterion by which all evil will be measured, and on which all the negatives conceived in the chancery of the empire will be written off.
They'll start playing negotiation at the level of negotiations between the military. Go, negotiate and negotiate. Instead of deciding at the state level, and making drastic, radical decisions, they will engage in fraud. Go and negotiate with the field commanders in the field. Let them agree among themselves there. They will play this game and deepen the conflict further. Meanwhile, the Chechens will be preparing for the spring and summer campaign. They will be preparing. There will be a lot of fuss in the next month. And the Chechens will not sit idly by. We need to clear the land. We need to start creating and prepare for a very long war that may last another 50 years. This war has already gone beyond a narrow understanding. It is already going far, far away.